Hey guys, I know it's late. Maybe a lot of you are not even going to catch this tonight, but I made myself come on live really quick before I change my mind and chicken out and just decide to go to bed. Because our teenagers, they just had a really great, amazing conversation with us. And I wish we could have had everybody in the room at the same time and had this conversation. Because the bottom line is, trauma doesn't go away even at adoption. Trauma doesn't go away just because papers are signed. Trauma doesn't go away just because there's a global pandemic, national crisis, whatever you want to call it, and we don't wear it as a badge, and we don't pretend it doesn't exist either. There's a constant balance. But the truth is, just because our kids are adopted doesn't mean that they're still not struggling with stuff. And matter of fact, how many of us have gone through things, mental illness, depression, all the things that go up and down in our lives. Like, trauma doesn't just happen to the veterans that were in the war and saw all these horrible things. Like, yeah, PTSD affects so many of our front lines and our military. But there needs to be another conversation about trauma affecting our front lines at home. Trauma and PTSD can happen to anyone that goes through a traumatic situation, to put it quite frankly. It's post-traumatic stress disorder. I think I got that right. So basically what that means is you go through something that is shocking. Could be a car accident, could be a terrible fall, it could be a horrible tragedy that you witness or are a part of, directly, abuse. PTSD can it happen to anybody. So our babies, they definitely struggle with that. And once we had them, we got a very quick idea of education on what mental illness is, what mental health is. Both things are totally important. You have to address both. You can't have one without the other. And the whole point being, there has to be a conversation about it, and it doesn't go away just because the country shuts down or the world shuts down. We are still who we are at the end of the day. Hey, babe. And we need to be honest about what happens with mental health illness, and we need to address it, and we need to take care of ourselves, and we need to move forward. You can't deny that it happens, and no one can tell any other one person who has it and who doesn't. I'm just sitting here tonight because our little guy had an episode tonight while we were out. Tim and I went for a drive for date night because we can't go anywhere else and do anything else. And when we got home, we had to hear some sad news that our little guy was, naughty. And honestly, some of it tonight was probably just because he never got good, true, real, loving spankings when he was little. He was abused, and we haven't had enough time. Some of it is just he was being a naughty pants. Some of it was because he's triggered. And, that is so important to recognize. A trigger, most people don't even know what triggers them in the first place. Second of all, once you are triggered, every person is different. What gets you off that spin cycle? It's like something just trips and your brain, Brenna, I wish that I could bring him to you right now. It's okay. We're going to get through this. But this is why I'm on Facebook Live tonight talking about mental health. So yeah, basically, there's a trigger in you. The trigger puts your brain on spin cycle. Like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. That's what it's telling you, that you're not okay. Your brain is designed to to let you know when you're in danger and you're just going, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm not okay. You might even not know why you're not okay. And in your brain, as you work through that, you might even realize like that garden hose you just freaked out about is not actually a snake. But the truth is, you're still freaking out because you're triggered, like that cycle, there's just that spin cycle going on in your brain. And everybody has a different trip, everybody has a different mechanism. We all can practice different things, we all can work through it and fix that cycle in our brain. But the truth is, when you're triggered, that's not the time to be thinking about it. It just happens and everything goes down. And it is so important to figure out where you can glitch. It's so important to figure out where you can get yourself out of that spin cycle. It's so important to have people around you that are helping you, that recognize those signs when you're going down and that can help you through it. But it's devastating. My kitchen was full of my teens, well, plus Mary too. So there's 5 adults in that room, of 14 and over, and we sat there talking about what happened with little guy. And again, I'm thinking in my head, okay, he probably just being equal parts naughty and equal parts he something triggered him. He was not all there. He's not all home. And it wasn't just training. It is the things that he's been through. And I know you guys can recognize some of that with me. Every one of us has been through things that we know later on after. It can be a smell. It can be a sound. It can be something that we see, like the snake actually it seeming like a water hose, or vice versa, and that can do it for us too. I mean, it can be anything, guys. Sound of a car accident, the same look of a car if you've been through a car accident. So there's so many things with mental health that we have to be honest about and catch ourselves and get ourselves through that. So our little baby is 7, and he was so far behind and so abused and so neglected when we got him. There are parts of him that really are still just 3 and 4 years old. And that can be hard to realize. I know everybody with children recognizes they all grow at different rates and they all have different things. They are who they are. We don't make a big deal out of it. Sometimes we get confused. I know every one of my other biological kids were very big for their age. We're a tall family. We're a big family. So I would look at my 3-year-old and sometimes forget that he was 3 and try to treat him like a 5-year-old. It's the reverse when it comes to Liam, because he looks 7 and he's a beautiful, healthy boy. Like, he just, on the outside, doesn't look like, I want to say there's anything wrong with him, but that he's struggling with anything. I mean, you can't tell from the outside when somebody has mental health issues and is struggling with something. It's not an outside problem. It's something from the inside, and we're all working on it. So, when I see he's reacting like a 3 and a 4-year-old, I forget sometimes, and I can easily get tripped up, and I can easily click that switch and just be like, no, we're not doing this. But the truth is, you got to walk yourself through it, and we have to help him through it. So unfortunately tonight it got a little ugly for the teens. But anyway, I say all that basically to open the conversation of mental health for all of us, because if we don't talk about it, we want to talk about what happened to the rest of our family by bringing that into our home. And I'm not blaming the little guy, and I'm sure you know me well enough to say that, that when you bring that trauma into your family, what that does, my teenagers get triggered now, okay? I get triggered. Thank God things have gotten so much better, right, guys? We are in a completely different place that we were before. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. Like, it was the kind of bad where actually I wasn't sure if we were going to survive. And I'm so grateful for how far we've come. I say all that to say, when I get a babysitter report of tonight and what happened when we went out, and my heart is broken and it's just devastated. And at first I start the spin cycle and I'm like, no, 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 not this again. Like, I can't handle this. Like, I remember all the days I would leave and I'd hear what happened after. Was it realistic for me to stay home forever? No. Could I? No. Did I do the best I could? Yeah. Did we have to practice mom leaving and still showing him that everybody's safe? Yes. All the things. So anyways, by the time I'm hearing this from them, I'm like, sure, like falling apart here. And I'm going, oh God, like, not at this again. Oh, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And I had to take a deep breath and look around that room and look at how far we've come and remind myself we're not going backwards. We're not in this horrible place. You know, this is not forever. And I'm looking at my teens, having to be honest with them. They're looking to me for the answers, and I'm glad to have, walk them through it. I had to get myself together first, and it did just take a big deep breath and get myself together and remind myself, no, we are not there anymore. We have come so far. We're headed in the right direction. We just had a little hiccup. We had a little glitch. He was a mix of naughty pants, and I have an idea of what happened or why, he did get triggered. So when we have these conversations with the kids and we're able to talk as a family and work through that, this is the best part. And we work this out together, right? This is where we get to tie in the gospel with what happened with our family tonight, right? So little buddy of Brenna's, I can say his name. I don't know why I still call him little buddy. Maybe just because it's a public thing or whatever. I don't even know. But, he went to bed. He did make things right, sort of, said he loved the babysitter, Mary. Abby kind of forgave them, and they moved on. But the whole point is they were left with the pieces of why he did it and where he went and what happened, and they were a little upset about it. So we were able to walk them through it, and the reality is, and I'm talking to all people with mental illness and just mental health issues, like whatever we want to call them, however we want to address them, I know what I'm working on. The bottom line is we can be working on this the entire time we are on this side of heaven. And that is the beauty of the gospel, is that we're going to believe for promises, and we're believing for complete and total healing. And the things that I've seen in my kids and in my family have gotten us a complete and total, they're miracles, the things that we've seen. But the God honest truth is we're not going to get to perfection. We may not get through some of these struggles. We may not get through some of these hard times on this side of heaven. The beauty of it is the promise on the other side is that we are going to get there. We do have a promise. It might not be today. It might not be on this side of heaven. It might not be. But there is a promise that on the other side of heaven, there will be. There will be. And that has to be enough for tonight. That has to be enough for those of you that are struggling with mental health issues, that maybe you don't feel like you're seen. Maybe you don't think that you can get through it. Maybe you don't think, that there is hope for you. But that is the reality of it, that this world is not meant to be perfect. There is no perfect marriage. There is no perfect child. There is no perfect anything on this side of heaven. We can have some amazing moments and some amazing memories, and I am so grateful for those, and I'm so grateful for all the things that we have. But the truth is, there is no perfection on this side of heaven. God uses broken things. He excels at taking our broken pieces and doing something with it, and it's really in our broken places that he can work. And I think for so long I was looking to fix my kids. I was looking to fix my family. I need to fix little buddy. I need to fix little sis. I mean, there are so many things broken with us, in us, all the things. But the truth is, like, that's where God redeems. If we weren't broken, we wouldn't have a need for a savior. Period. And that's where it ends, in the simplicity of it, because I could see my teenagers looking at me like, it's always going to be like this. I'll even tell on Abby, she sat there and just said, I just feel like it's always going to be like this. And for a minute, I'm going in my own spin cycle, and I'm like, oh God, we're still there. It's still going to be awful. It's still this thing. But the truth is, we have come so far, and you have come so far. If you're here tonight and you look back at how far you've come and what you've gone through, that's the part where we have to quit pretending that it has to be perfect. And I even sat here for a minute. I'm like, no, don't go Facebook Live. Don't do the thing. You're a mess and it's bedtime and, who's even going to listen? But my heart is just so moved to say, like, this is the reality of it, that this is where God moves. This is where God meets us, is when we take our broken pieces and we say, this is all we've got. What can you do with it? And I know that's what got us into foster care, and that's what got us into adopting our kids, because I said, this is all I have. If you can use a donkey, you can use me. I know you can do miracles. What can you do with me? And every day when I get up, that's all I can ask myself. That's all I ask the Lord, is what can you do with me? And I just want to say, every one of you is seen. Every one of you in that place. Like, that's the kind of God that we serve. He takes ashes and he makes them into something. He made man from dirt. That's where we come from, if we want to be honest about it. So who are we to think that we're not going to be broken? It is a fallen world. It's awful out there. The stories are awful. The things our kids have been through are awful. I'm sure every one of us has stories that are awful, such hard times. But what can God do with it? What has he done with it? I know what he's done with me and my broken pieces in my story, and I'm watching firsthand what he's doing with my little kids. So tonight, I was discouraged. And I was a little triggered. So for every one of you that are triggered in a global pandemic, or maybe you're just triggered because all the things, who knows what the triggers are, but call it out what it is, for heaven's sake. Guys, stop pretending it's not there and do something about it. Just call it out and give it to God and watch what he can do with it. That's when the miracles happen. He's a gentleman. He's not going to throw himself on you, and he's not going to just take it from you. You've got to give it to him. You've got to hand it over to him. I had a conversation with my sister one time, only because someone else walked me through it, one of our teachers from Bible school, and I was really struggling with anxiety over our business. Like, we were losing money hand over fist. I mean, there was just no way. We were paying the bills. There was no way, and I felt like I had to be there every day, and it was stealing my joy. There's nothing I could do. I was moving money over. There's no money to move, and it was just the worst place. I made myself sit at that desk. I did not spend time with my children. I never rested. I could have done peaceful thing. I should have given myself a hall pass. There was nothing to do, but I forced myself to go there, and I was like dying over anxiety. And one of our Bible school teachers walked in the room, and he was running an errand trying to help us out at the time, and I explained it to him, and he said, literally, I needed to sit there in front of the computer and take our QuickBooks and just look at that and literally imagine and envision handing it over into the hands of Jesus and leave it there. And that was so hard for me to do and so hard to practice, but that image never left my mind. And then so many of you know my sister, what she went through last year when her baby was born, and there was just so many awful complications, and we were all of a sudden living in a nightmare. We weren't sure what tomorrow looked like. I wasn't even sure why God was sending me up there to spend the time with them. It was just a really hard, scary time, to watch my sister and her family go through that. It was really hard. And then to watch the other side of it. And at that point, we're 2 years into foster care, so I know something about mental health. And I'm like, oh, I know what this looks like. And oh, I know what's coming next. And that was just a chance for us to be able to say, like, This is the part where you hand it over to God. You let him do the thing. You let him take your broken pieces, and that's where your healing begins. Now, there are pieces you may need beyond that. It could be counseling. It could be, talking to a good friend. There are so many opportunities out there that, everybody's got to take a different path to figure out. But I'm just saying, we start here. Take your anxiety, take your worry, literally whatever your trigger is, just hand it over. Put it in the hands of Jesus. We know it is way better when he has it than we do. And for me, tonight, when I looked at my kids and I had to tell them that was what I had, that's what I had to offer. Like, here, guys, you know what? We're moving forward. Tonight is not the end of our story. There's so much more to be had, and we have come so far. But let me just tell you, we are going to believe for the best. We're believing for miracles. We are seeing them come to pass. However, if you don't see it in this lifetime, let me just promise you, if you don't see it in this lifetime, I can promise you, you're going to see it on the other side. And that's the promise, and that's the home field advantage, and that's the breaking point. That's the tipping point on the scales, is when we can say, you know what? Yeah, this is a flawed earth. This is a flawed people, but we have a promise. And that has to be enough right there, and you just have to let it go right there. And that has to be enough for you to at least get some sleep tonight. You take that thing and you literally hand it over into the hands of God and let him do the thing with it. Call it what it is, and then call it good night. And that's as good as it gets. What a gift. What a gift that he can handle your problems for you. What a gift that even when you're triggered, somebody else has a solution for you. What a gift that even if you don't see the promise on this side of heaven, you know you're going to see it on the other side. You just got to keep going until you get there. So I just wanted to shed some light on this mental health issue where we got tonight. You can't pay me to change the conversation that I had with my teens, my kids tonight, because it encouraged me even more than it encouraged them. I didn't think I had the answers, and I did think I was triggered, and I was able to work through that thing and say, you know what? Yeah, I'm sorry for the rough night. I'm sorry for what happened with our little guy, but it is getting better. We're going to get through this. We're going to get better. And on the other side, we know. I'll tell you a little secret about this little guy. As much as he challenges me to my end, we laughed about it tonight. All of us did. I had one of our new t-shirts on. The design I made for last month literally said, "We are the village," and it had James 1:27, and I forgot to make one for myself. So I finally did, and then I put it on just earlier this week, and I was just getting dressed and just coming out of the room, and Liam walks into the bedroom, and he's like, "Hey, Mom, I just had a dream about that last night." And I'm going, "You did? What was your dream, buddy?" And he goes, "I dreamed that I was a grown-up, and I was standing on a stage, and I was telling people, 'We are the village, we are the village.' And I was so excited, and I was so happy." And this is what he's telling me in the middle of what we're living in the middle of where he came from, in the middle of all the challenges. This is the dream that my little buddy had. This is the thing that God gave him, and this is what he's telling me from the t-shirt that he's seeing on me, James 1:27, and he's imagining himself preaching on a stage in front of other people, rallying and championing the cause of the orphan. So when I get glimpses of that, I can hang in there a little longer. And when I can share stories like that, I can hang in there a little longer. So I just want to encourage every one of you, if you're triggered, give it to the Lord. And I just encourage you to wait for those moments and wait for that sunshine and wait for that goodness, because it's coming. And there is coming a day when you sow in tears. And I know so many of you, if you're watching right now, I know you have watched our journey, and we have sown in tears. And it has been hard. But let me tell you, when I hear little guy say that he's going to get up on a stage. Someday he had a dream that he's getting on a stage as a grown man and preaching, "We are the village." There's something in me that's like, I can keep on going a little further. I can keep on going a little more. We got this. We're going to get this. And even when I can't do it, I know he can. And even if I don't see it on this side, I see it on the other side. So anyways, guys, I think that's all I have. But I do love you all so much, and I hope you are hanging in there with me. I just think it's so important to address that, the mental health issue. And we need to be honest about where we're at with that. And we need to address it. You cannot pray for something that you do not acknowledge even exist. So I just challenge you today, those little things that might be keeping you, or those little places that you know are hurting and you're scared to shine the light on them. Shine the light, guys. Shine the light, because there's no other way to expose the enemy than shining the light in the darkness. And there is no reason for you to live in darkness when we have a glorious light. There is no reason to live hopeless when we have the promises. Literally, they're yours. They're yours to take. They're yours to grab. They belong to you. They're yours. You just have to claim them. And even if you don't see it all on this side of heaven, and you're probably not going to, I don't plan on it. I'm going to keep on keeping on. But I know if I don't see it on this side, I'm going to see it on the other side. So if you want to hang in there with me, I'm just going to pray right now. Father God, I thank you so much for this window of opportunity, God. I thank you for breakthroughs. I thank you for change. I thank you for hope in the middle of hopelessness. God, I just believe you right now for every person watching, God, that there would be light shined in the dark places, God, that you would expose the enemy and bring freedom, God. You would bring hope where there is no hope, God. You would bring joy where there is not joy, God, and you would help us to be honest and open, God, about where we're at with you, and we would delight in giving you our broken pieces, God, to see what you can do with them. Lord, I just thank you right now for all the things you're doing, God, even that you would have this global pandemic, God, to just stop our lives and cause us to see things differently, cause us to face things differently. Lord, let us not come out of this thing the way that we were before, God. Let us shine for you, God. Let us come out healed. Let us come out in victory, God. Let us come out in hope. Let us come out changed, Lord God. Let us take this time to acknowledge what is going on in our brains. Let us take this time to acknowledge, God, what has happened in our lives, that we could address it, God, and move forward. Lord, I just believe you right now, God, that there are going to be lives changed just from this conversation. God, I thank you for the lives changed that I have seen in my home. God, I thank you for what you've done through our lives, God, through this whole process of foster care and adoption, God. I thank you that you took something that was broken and painful and dark, Lord God, and you are turning it into something beautiful. God, I love that you take broken things and make them beautiful, God, and we just believe you today that every life that you have, Lord, is going to be changed, is going to be made whole, God, and we thank you for your promise that even if it cannot happen on this side of heaven, that it will happen on the other side. I thank you for wholeness. I thank you for fullness. I thank you for miracles. God knows we've seen enough miracles, God, and we just believe you for all the things in Jesus' name. I just believe it, guys, and I just am so grateful I could share this moment with you. We are the village. And we are not going to stay where we have been. And we are moving forward. And what an amazing opportunity for us to be able to address, to take the time to address our mental health and to work through some of the things that we may never have had time to work through before. But it's here and it's now. And it might be in our faces, but thank God it's in our faces, because what are we going to do with it? Hand it over to Him. Let Him do it. Let Him do the miracles, and then we can just keep moving forward. Let us come out different than we were before. I love you guys. Hope you have a great night and that you're hanging in there, and we got this. Good night.